This is CBC Here and Now.
About 5% of any population can have thoughts of suicide at any time.
Last week we heard that the number of suicides is up. Now we'll take a look at the factors at play when talking about suicide and prevention. That's just ahead.
Check out the pump track.
This project is a huge achievement for the local mountain bike community and a big step for the sport locally.
Coming up here now, we're at the pump track.
Good evening and welcome to Here and Now. Suicide deaths are on the rise across Newfoundland and Labrador, up by 25% from 2020 to 2021. As Here and Now's Henrika Wilhelm reports, people who research the subject say it's important to look at social factors. But first, a warning, this story deals with suicide and may be disturbing to some.
Which factors contribute to someone dying by suicide? This question has no easy answer. While it is well known that mental illness plays a role, social factors mustn't be underestimated, says one researcher.
People who experience discrimination and homophobia, transphobia, racism, these are all things that also significantly increase people's risk for distress and mental health problems. And so it's really important to sort of see that those are not medical issues. We see, again, at a population level, when there's big changes in employment, for example, during a recession, that when employment goes down, in some places we see increases in suicide rates.
Pollock says just as access to mental health care, social factors have to improve for better suicide prevention.
Things we can do to increase people's food security, make sure they have good quality housing, make sure they aren't exposed to violence.
Our Path of Resilience, the provincial government's suicide prevention plan, also notes the impact of social determinants of health, such as income, education status, and physical and social environments on people's health. Generally, some groups have a higher suicide risk, according to the Canadian Mental Health Association. The highest rate can be found in men in their 40s and 50s. Also at risk, youth between 14 and 19, first responders, members of the LGBTQ+ community, and Indigenous people. And yet, one expert cautions not to think in stereotypes.
About 5% of any population can have thoughts of suicide at any time. So when you think of the population of Newfoundland and Labrador, that would work out to be about 26,000 people. That's the population of Conception Bay South. So any one of us at any point in time can have thoughts of suicide.
Din says everyone can help lower the suicide rate by taking courses to detect signs of suicidal thoughts, by asking people directly about it, and by saying the word suicide. Henrika Wilhelm, CBC News, St. John's.
Well, if you or someone you know is struggling, please reach out for help. You can call the Suicide Prevention Hotline at 1-833-456-4566 or the Kids Help Phone. That number is 1-800-668-6868. And this story is on our website, cbc.ca/NL, and you'll find some more resources there as well. Well, some emergency room closures to tell you about. The U.S. Memorial Health Center in St. Lawrence won't have ER services available this evening because of a lack of staff. Anyone who needs urgent medical care should call 911 or head to the emergency room in Burin or Grand Bank. Western Health is also struggling with a shortage of workers. It says there won't be an emergency room doctor available at the Calder Health Center in Burgeo for the rest of the month. Instead, virtual ER services will be provided with a nurse on site to help patients. There have been allegations of inappropriate photos, off-color remarks, and an RCMP investigation. Now the scandal at Central Health is growing. 7 long-term care residents in Bay Verte have had their privacy breached in some way. CBC Radio's Newfoundland morning host Bernice Hillier interviewed family members of 3 of the patients involved, and she joins us now from Corner Brook. So Bernice, what do we know about these patients?
Well, their families tell me that they're elderly or unwell and unable to advocate for themselves. There were two men involved, Rick Barker and Reginald Regular, both residents of the Bayburt Peninsula Healthcare Center. Their families say that they were notified that there were inappropriate photos of these two men. Now, we don't know what was in the photos. Central Health will only say that they do not show patients' private areas, so they were not nude photos. We do know that the photo of Mr. Regular has been passed on to the RCMP as part of an investigation, and Mr. Regular passed away last December. I also spoke to relatives of a woman named Dorothy Foster, who says that Central Health informed that family that there were staff who were talking about Dorothy Foster and laughing at her within earshot. As you can imagine, these families are all very upset, and they're looking for answers as to who, what staff were involved, and what actions have been taken against those staff.
Sounds like a lot of unanswered questions still. What is Central Health saying?
Central Health is saying very little. Now, this morning on CBC Radio's Newfoundland Morning, I did have an opportunity to speak with Joanne Pelly, who is a vice president with Central Health and chief nursing executive with that health authority. She couldn't go into details, she said, because of privacy concerns. She wouldn't say how many employees are involved or exactly what disciplinary action was taken against each of them, only that the disciplinary measures do include termination. She wouldn't say how many employees actually have had their positions terminated, and she wouldn't say what job classifications these employees were working in. So it's not clear how many people were fired or if any of the people involved are still working with long-term care. We are told by Central Health that none of them are now caring for residents. As for the other 4 residents or patients, no details on who they are or exactly the details of what kind of a breach of privacy went on there, whether there were photos, comments, or something else entirely. Central Health's Joanne Pelly said the health authority is now reviewing its processes to ensure that staff know about their obligations and ensure that if there's any additional training or education needed, that will take place. Central Health says it deeply regrets what has taken place. Carolyn?
Thanks so much, Bernice. Really appreciate it. Well, the issue also came up at the House of Assembly at Confederation Building today, where the opposition party says the government needs to be doing more.
Here one day it was 3, next day it's 4, first set of 1, now up to 7. So is this problem not widespread? Like, I think government needs to take this more seriously, and it's fine to take a hands-off approach, but in this case you can't be doing that. You can do it in some cases, but when you're dealing with seniors in these long-term care homes, it troubles me, and I think it should trouble a lot of people, and the families got to be horrendous for the families, because I can only speak personally. If it was my mom, I think, or any of your moms, you'd be feeling much the same way, and I think it's ridiculous, and I think government needs to be more accountable.
I mean, this is really traumatic for people who are in the long-term care and also for the families, because it's devastating. You know, they're at the most vulnerable. You know, I've had people in nursing homes, you know, and relatives and friends. So from that perspective, it's devastating. But I think what's happening now is more a reflection of all the cutbacks that happened in the past, and now we're in a healthcare crisis.
Anytime a situation or an incident like this happens, it's very concerning. People go into healthcare, they go into long-term care to be treated with dignity. And that is what not only we expect, but we demand when a patient is being cared for, that they are treated with respect and dignity. We may very well have to do more, but there is an RCMP investigation. There is an investigation by Central Health. And I think the prudent action is to get the investigation by Central Health and the investigation by the RCMP. That will clearly detail for us then, you know, the scope, those involved, and outline what actions need to be taken from there.
Well, the weather is cooling and it's soon time to change over your tires. Service NL issued a reminder today that you should consider changing over to your winter tires before the snow and ice arrives. If you have studded tires, you can't install those until November 1st.
And And in the weather forecast, we don't have a whole pile of snow coming, a little bit for Nain, but we do have showers and rain for most parts of the island. So we've got showers for the eastern half to 3/4 of the island. Then we've got rain moving into Labrador West. That will bring with it that snow for the Nain area, about 2 centimeters to tell you about a little later on in the show. And then tomorrow we'll have showers persisting for many parts of the island and rain into Wednesday. So this is what that looks like. You can see right here, this is what's going to move into the Labrador West area. Taking a look right here, that's going to push across the island. We'll tell you all about it a little later on.
Thanks, Heather. Well, the leader of the provincial PC party had a health scare a few weeks back, and he's speaking out about it. David Brazel had been on the southwest coast of the island to meet those affected by post-tropical storm Fiona. And when he returned, he quickly realized something wasn't right. He sat down with the St. John's Morning Show to talk about his close call and his recovery. Here's part of that conversation.
One of my employees, a business that I have, were bringing up some paperwork, woke me up at about 1 o'clock. I went down, got that paperwork, laid it at my desk, went back up to lie down, and the minute I lied down, I could feel my chest, my arm, and my jaw. There are three, and we all know there are three indicators.
Your right arm? You were
yes,
just
my
pointing
right
at your
arm.
right arm, yeah.
And I knew then when I got up right away, I got dressed quickly, woke up my wife, and said, we're going to hospital. And that was sort of an eye-opener for her because, I've had ailments, shoulders dislocated, knees blown out. I would ever barely go to a doctor. She knew it was something serious. Jumped in the car. We came to the health sciences, and she was going to park, and I knew. I said, don't even park. Just drop me at Emerge. I went in. Now, fortunate enough, because we know how overcrowded Emerge is, Sunday nights, I've been told by other physicians, Sunday nights from 2 o'clock to 5 in the morning is the slowest time for Emerge because people are waiting. Monday they can go see their family doctor as necessary or one of the collaborative community care facilities that we have here. I managed to, I knocked on one of the wickets and an administrative individual came out and said, you need to see a nurse. I said, yes. Went up, she said, 2 wickets up. I knocked on that. Nurse came out, and even before, she looked at me. She just said, come in. And the first thing was, did you take aspirins? And I had none at the time. Always cognizant of that for a heart attack. And she gave me them right away and then gave me a nitro spray, got me an EKG. They got me in the assessment room, and then within minutes, one of the cardiac interns were in to look at it. And then, a few minutes after that, they were saying they're prepping me for surgery, and the surgeon was home watching my EKG on his phone and knew I was having a heart attack at the time. So right away, got me in for surgery, and I give credit. 2 surgeons worked. Within another hour, I was up on the CCU ward, recovering. And, they then had told me what had happened and that I would have to have another further procedure, but they didn't want to do it then because they felt it would be too much on the heart. So 3 days later, I went in and had another procedure done in surgery. And then a couple of days in the recovery. And then they let me out and gave me some indicators of what I had to do, and I'm on the road to recovery right now.
Well, I'm glad he's feeling better. Well, the City of St. John's and the province's Mountain Biking Association officially opened a pump track today on one side of Kitty Vitty Lake. It's a place for bikers, skateboarders, and rollerbladers to sharpen their skills by whipping around a circular track. Here and Now's Katie Breen stopped by today.
This is amazing. We've only seen stuff like this on videos, TV, the internet. To have something like this here locally is not something I thought I'd see, and well, I could still ride it.
I think it's amazing. I've just learned how to do the pumps right, and I feel like soon I'll be able to do this the same speed as half of these other guys.
A pump track is essentially a skill building tool for cyclists and skateboarders predominantly. And the idea is that you ride around the track, so it's a continuous circuit made up of bank corners or berms and rollers, which are basically just lumps that you ride over but contoured very regularly. And the idea is that you don't pedal. So you go around this track, and in order to get around it, you have to pump yourself over the rollers to gain momentum that way.
How hard is it?
Not that hard. It's really medium.
What's it like to ride a skateboard on this thing?
Pretty nice. Nice curving. Goes around pretty smooth. It's hard to stay on though. It's not too bumpy. It's just enough bumpy.
The sport's been blowing up the last 5 or 10 years anyway, but this is going to push it over the edge for sure. And even if the numbers don't go up, the numbers that we have now are just going to get so much better.
Overall, it's going to help with skill development, it's going to help with people's awareness of the sport, and it's going to help the community become closer as a whole and grow.
You gotta go around, have fun. It's the most important thing out of all the things that what skating's all about.
A familiar face is back with the Newfoundland Growlers this season. It was announced today that local lad Tyler Boland will be joining the club after being reassigned from the AHL's Manitoba Moose. In last year's playoff run, Boland put up 16 goals and 25 points in just 19 games. The Growlers kick off their season on Friday at the Mary Brown Centre.
In July, Premier Andrew Furey offered this invitation.
If there's any doctors out there in Newfoundland and Labrador who want to stay, who are elsewhere in Canada who want to come, who are around the world who want to come to Newfoundland and Labrador, reach out to my office directly.
And they did. Now CBC News can tell you what responses the Premier's office got. That story is tomorrow on Here and Now.
And in the weather forecast, rain, drizzle, and fog is the story of the night. We'll tell you about that and what's ahead, bringing you into Friday up next.
Well, last week we told you the story of Leslie and Krista Lake's massive pumpkin in Clarenville. Well, tonight we have an update. Gourdzilla, as it has affectionately been called, weighs in at 1,034 pounds or 469 kilograms, and it's becoming an area attraction with lots of people going out to see the great Gourdzilla.
That is massive.
It's a great name too. My goodness, I don't even know how you get a pumpkin to be that big.
Oh my, I won a giant pumpkin once when I was in like grade 4 or 5.
You what?
I won one once in like grade 4 or 5. Yeah, they just plopped it down on the lawn.
And then what did you do with it?
Just hung out and then we threw it away. Anyway.
Yeah, it would be a great pumpkin for carving for Halloween.
Yeah, massive. Yeah, a lot of pumpkin pies.
A lot of work, yeah. So the weather, how are things looking?
Not great. Rain, drizzle, fog is kind of the story of the night. But yesterday we did break a temperature record down on the Burin Peninsula.
Really?
Let's show you. So here in St. Lawrence, 17.5 degrees yesterday. Their old record was 16.8, and that was set in 2005. Now in Winterland, also on the Burin Peninsula, you didn't set a record yesterday, but you tied your old one of 18.5 degrees, which was also set in 2005. Now taking a look at today's highs, we didn't quite reach that. 13, 14 degrees along the East Coast, 16 in Marystown, so you still had a pretty decent day there as well. And a little warmer here on the West Coast at 17, but cooling off as we get up into the Northern Peninsula and Southern Labrador, but dropping down 4, 5, 6 along the coast and 7 and 8 in Churchill Falls today. So still not a bad day. But the story is this rain that is moving in from the west for Labrador West, and it's going to push across Labrador by midnight. These showers, the drizzle that we're experiencing here on the East Coast is going to push westward as we go into the overnight hours. You can see it all sweeping in 2 different directions here. That's going to bring some snow and some rain mix up here to Nain and about 5 to 10 millimeters for Lab West. Now, looking at tonight for the eastern half of the island, for this part of the island on over, we're going to have a chance of showers tonight. So for St. John's, Bonavista into Gander, you're going to have a 60% chance of showers tonight. Your temperatures from 8 in Gander to 11 in St. John's. Down in Marystown on the Burin Peninsula, you'll have a 40% chance of showers tonight at 11 degrees. Similar forecast for the Harbour Breton area. But as we go further to the southwest coast, we'll have partly cloudy skies tonight and the winds are going to pick up. So it'll be a pretty breezy night for Burgeo, 30 to 50. As we get to Port aux Basques, it could gust to 60 kilometers per hour, and we could see gusts of 70 in the Wreck House tonight. On the west coast, Corner Brook, 9 degrees, partly cloudy skies tonight, but it could feel like 4 in low-lying areas. So chillier in some places for sure. 4 degrees and clear in St. Anthony tonight, picking up a few more clouds as we get into the Straits, into Labrador, 4 degrees as well, and clouds in Cartwright. Now in Nain, 0 degrees tonight, and we could see some flurries for you, about 2 centimeters, some snow. But if you're in Natwashish, a little further south, that's going to be rain, about 5 millimeters of rain for you. Some clouds tonight in Happy Valley, Goose Bay, and here we go. We've got that rain in Labrador City in the Wabush area, and your winds are going to be 30 to 50 from the south. Let's take a look at the future tracker. When we're getting up tomorrow morning, we're still going to have showers there for 3/4 of the island, and this rain-snow mix is going to be pushing across the Labrador area. So taking a closer look at tomorrow now. 15 degrees for the eastern half of the island. Once it clears off, that fog and cloud dissipating, we'll have a little bit of mix of sun and cloud for you guys. Some showers for Marystown. Similar forecast in Harbour Breton, but up into central Newfoundland now, you will have some showers in the morning, things clearing off, 17 degrees, so a pretty nice day for you there. Down here along the south coast, it's going to still be breezy, we'll still be feeling those winds, and you will definitely be having some drizzle tomorrow morning. So, not a really great day for you. 18 along the west coast, still breezy, but as we go up into the Northern Peninsula, our temperatures will be dropping off. Mix of sun and cloud here in Port au Choix, picking up some rain and some drizzle here along St. Anthony and 8 on up into Labrador now. This is where we have all of that precipitation, snow rain mix in Nain, and some rain picking up about 2 more millimeters in Labrador City, and some rain also for Churchill Falls. Decent day though for Happy Valley Goose Bay in Labrador. You've got the best of it tomorrow at 12 degrees. Now we will take a look at the rest of your week and your long-term forecast a little later on Here and Now.
Thanks, Heather. Well, a new CBC podcast is coming from right here in Newfoundland and Labrador. It's called 1 in 6. It's an 8-part series that takes an intimate look at family, fertility, and trying to see the uterus half full. And if you've been a regular viewer of Here and Now over the years, the host is someone you may recognize.
Hey, I'm Jen White. I'm a reporter and producer with CBC News in St. John's. And this is my husband, Neil. Say hi, Neil.
Hi, Neil.
Such a dad joke. But that's kind of why we're here today. I usually tell other people's stories for a living, but now we're sharing our own. Neil, you want to break the bad news, what it's about?
We can't get pregnant. So in 2018, we picked up a recorder to tell our story.
Yeah, it was at the time when I was going through a really hard go of fertility treatments. I was in the middle of my 6th round of what's called intrauterine insemination, or IUI. Take a listen.
Now recording.
Now we're recording.
Now recording. Okay, here we go.
So it's almost 11:30 on October 21st. It's the night before IUI number 6.
Oh yeah.
So how are you feeling?
Nervous, I guess. Excited. It's a lot on you, right? It's a lot of pressure on you, and it's so hard seeing you go through all those dips and dives. You ready?
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. 1, 2, 3. Dab, don't move. 1, 2, 3. Out. Hey! Bah, 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 bah.
So it's not just the physical and emotional stress. It's the money too, right, Neil?
That's right. Treatments like IVF can cost up to $10,000.
So much money.
So much.
And there's also travel involved. Newfoundland and Labrador is only one of 2 provinces without an IVF clinic. And that means you have to travel at a moment's notice and pay for accommodations for up to 2 weeks in a different city.
And the drugs involved, they can cost thousands of dollars as well.
So much money. So I spoke with some other women about their fertility struggles. Take a listen.
I felt like I was drowning at one point, just like under this big pile of weight. I went through this, I call it my midlife crisis. I quit my job, I cut my hair.
There's so many ups and downs, it can be so exciting. I felt like science was so cool and amazing that that's even possible. And then when it doesn't work and you're just completely heartbroken and devastated, it's also probably the hardest thing I've ever done in my entire life.
It just so happens that 1 in 6 Canadian couples deal with infertility like us. And if you are one of those couples in that statistic, know that you're not alone. We're here with you.
Yeah, and you get to follow along in our journey, what it's like to deal with fertility issues over the next 4 weeks as we release episodes.
All our ups and downs on this bumpy road to infertility. Get it? Bumpy road? Baby bump?
Of course. You can listen to new episodes now on CBC Listen or wherever you get your podcasts. We hope you'll tune in. Bump?
Bump, yeah.
Bump, okay.
Bump.
A new trial ordered for a teenage boy accused of sexual assault. The Court of Appeal says the judge relied on rape myths to acquit the boy. I'm Malone Mullen, and I'll have the details about this disturbing case coming up.
Court of Appeal in this province has ordered a new trial for a teenager accused of sexual assault. The court said the judge relied on rape myths to acquit him. Here Now's Malone Mullen is here to tell us more about this story, but first a warning. We will be giving some details about an alleged sexual assault. So Malone, can you tell us about this case? What are the accusations here?
Well, both teenagers, a 17-year-old boy and a 15-year-old girl, they testified that they were alone together at the girl's house. The girl says the boy pulled her onto the bed and put his hand under her clothes. He started asking her to go to her brother's room to find a condom. She says she refused and struggled to get up off the bed, but he held her down, removed her pants, and sexually assaulted her. She says she also tried to fight him and told him to stop, but he didn't. The boy says the encounter was consensual. He says he never asked about condoms and neither of them communicated verbally, but when he went to take her pants off, she lifted herself to allow him. He says when they finished, she walked him to the door and didn't appear upset.
So two very different accounts of what happened. What did the judge make of these testimonies?
So Judge Lori Marshall didn't believe the girl's testimony. She said if he had really asked her to leave the bedroom to get a condom, then she could have just walked out of the house to ask for help. Marshall also said if the girl had forcefully said no, like she testified, then the boy wouldn't have been able to ignore it and would have stopped what he was doing. And lastly, the judge also said her distress after the alleged attack could have been explained by the boy leaving her house so quickly. Essentially, she could have been a jilted lover.
Okay, but the Court of Appeal disagreed with that logic and found the judge was actually wrong in this case?
Yeah, the appeal judges decided that Marshall made what they call an error in law by relying on rape myths. Those myths legally aren't allowed in a courtroom. The ones at play here are that silence is consent, that a woman can prevent rape if she really wants to, and that a woman may be seeking revenge on a past lover by falsely accusing them. So because of those myths, the acquittal was overturned, and now the accused is getting a new trial.
Thanks so much, Malone. That's CBC's Malone Mullen. Well, federal court judges have to undergo mandatory sexual assault training before taking their seat on the bench. They have to learn about the rape myths that Malone described and apply that knowledge to their work. Provincial Justice Minister John Hogan says he spoke with the new chief judge at provincial court about training judges on sexual assault issues. Hogan says the chief judge is interested in that idea, and he says he wants the chief judge to settle into his new role first, and then they'll continue the discussions. Okay, so let's change gears now. Rising energy prices and climate change concerns have more people looking for ways to cut costs and also their carbon footprint. And solar power is gaining popularity as an alternative energy source. One New Brunswick homeowner was so pleased with it, he staged an open house so others could see the results for themselves.
My name is Carl. This is our place here. We had this system installed about 2 years ago, and it's worked out really well. This is what's called a grid-tied solar array. So that means it's a system whereby we can generate a portion or all of our own power while remaining attached to the local power grid. So it means we get the benefit of generating our own power to lower our bills, but we still have the reliability of the grid backstopping us. This system was installed 2 years ago on our pre-existing home. So it's not something that has to be designed into a home specifically. I thought, I bet a lot of people would be interested in this if they could just overcome that barrier of learning how it works and how could it apply in their situation. So that's why I thought, why not have an open house? I know it would have helped me so much to have an open house like this to attend before I installed our system. I'm hoping this fulfills that same benefit to all of the people who are coming here today.
I was interested in seeing what the system looks like and how it works and hearing about people's experience with it so that I can make a better decision for myself in what I'm going to do at my house. So it's where the world is going. We need to get off fossil fuels. We need to save money on our hydro bills. It's all positive in my mind.
I think what I have enjoyed the most about this system is how it seamlessly takes over when there is a power failure. And to be honest, we don't even notice. There's a tiny, tiny flicker in the lights, and Other than that, the batteries take over very seamlessly. Putting in solar is definitely an investment. You have to put money up front. But unlike a standard power bill, which you pay every month in perpetuity, solar actually pays back. So the payback on a system like this would be something like probably 9 years. And ironically, the higher power rates go, the shorter the payback period gets.
Well, tomorrow on CBC Radio's Crosstalk, they're talking about opioids. From prescriptions and chronic pain to addictions and safety, the history of the opioid crisis here and where things are going.
Hi, I'm Katie Jackson, and we're looking for Black changemakers in Atlantic Canada. This CBC series recognizes Black people creating positive change, inspiring others, and helping shape our future. Nominate someone today.
Some advocates are raising the alarm over a planned revamp of the Indigenous foster care system. The upcoming federal funding changes are meant to give communities autonomy over Indigenous child welfare, but it's creating uncertainty for many who depend on agencies that have filled the need. Olivia Stevanovich reports.
Keeping families and communities together is the goal of this Indigenous-run Child and Family Services agency.
I went from being homeless to being housed.
I had a very good foster parents.
I've never had a child in my care previous to this current experience, so it really helped guide me. It also helped me become involved in the Indigenous community.
But there are fears that progress could roll back under a major revamp of the First Nations child welfare system, diverting funding from agencies to communities.
We have been scrambling over
The executive director says the agency faces a 20% cut of its budget, $10 million by next year.
What we're really worried about is this resulting in a massive spike in kids entering the child welfare system, which is, I think, the opposite direction that we want to go.
Critics say the Liberal government needs to stop taking half measures on reform.
That the federal government wants to download all their obligations, but if they download it without proper funding, children are going to get hurt, and First Nation communities are going to be blamed.
The Indigenous Services Minister says Ottawa will do whatever it takes to ensure First Nations people have autonomy over child welfare.
Will it be seamless? I hope it will be as seamless as possible.
The transition of critical dollars, part of a $20 billion overhaul, Ottawa plans to finalize with Indigenous leaders by the end of the year.
The child that is receiving services would continue to do so, but under a different service delivery arrangement.
But the people who depend on agencies are still stuck in limbo, not knowing whether the services they desperately need will even exist in a few months from now. Olivia Stefanovich, CBC News, Ottawa.
Russian airstrikes today cut off power and water supply for hundreds of thousands in Ukraine. Moscow says it was targeting Ukraine's military and energy infrastructure. Several explosions rocked the northern part of Ukraine's capital, where a thermal power station is located. Kyiv's mayor says the attack was on critical infrastructure. A number of Russian rockets also hit Kharkiv, including a warehouse used for storing food. Officials say Ukrainian air defenses shot down 3 long-range missiles in a Kharkiv suburb. Ukraine sees it as a deliberate Russian campaign to deprive people of water, electricity, and heat as winter looms. Powerful explosions are being blamed for last month's damage to the Nord Stream pipelines that run from Russia to Europe. The results of a preliminary investigation by police in Denmark appear to support the conclusions of a separate investigation conducted by Swedish authorities. 4 different leaks appeared in the Nord Stream 1 and 2 pipelines late September. Both Danish and Swedish officials say they appeared to be the result of sabotage. It's not known who is responsible for the damage. A Swedish newspaper has released video it says shows a 50-meter section missing from the Nord Stream 1 pipeline. The paper says it was shot in the Baltic Sea yesterday by an underwater drone about 80 meters below the surface. Swedish officials have not commented on that video. Well, the mayor of Ottawa testified at day 4 of the inquiry into the federal government's invoking of the Emergencies Act last winter. Jim Watson says the city did not have the police resources it needed to end the protest convoy, and other levels of government didn't act quickly enough to step in. The CBC's Rafi Boudjikanian has the latest.
This is just not something the city was equipped to handle on its own, says the mayor of Ottawa. Something that dawned on him when the first weekend of the convoy protest passed and it didn't clear out.
People started to realize this was turning into a very volatile situation when we started seeing fireworks going off and hot tubs brought in and the behavior.
So began the calls on January 31st, telling the Prime Minister they are asking for RCMP resources. 1 week later, a stronger complaint from the mayor while chatting to Trudeau again.
Nasty people out there that just don't represent Canada. Reminds me of the Republican Party down south.
And pointing out Ontario and Premier Doug Ford are no-shows at what were supposed to be 3-way meetings with the feds and the city.
He said, look at what's it going to accomplish? A bunch of people sitting around a table talking and making decisions. And I said, well, that sounds like a cabinet meeting. And he didn't like that.
The Prime Minister also critical. Doug Ford has been hiding from his responsibility on it for political reasons, as you highlighted, and important, we don't let them get away from that.
If the province had participated in these meetings and been more engaged, do you think there would have been less of a delay?
I truly believe it would have. If we're all at the same table, speaking to one another, we can have our arguments back and forth.
And though he says he was not consulted on the Emergencies Act and did not ask for it, ultimately, it only helped.
I saw a whole row of tow trucks parked on Laurier Avenue. I'd never thought I'd see the day where I'm so happy to see a tow truck.
For its part, the province of Ontario says it has fully cooperated with the inquiry, providing ample documents, and adds officials are available to take the stand as witnesses if asked. Rafi Bujikani on CBC News, Ottawa.
Well, an old taxi scam is coming back to life. It involves people posing as cab drivers, stealing debit cards and banking information. 2 women who were targeted in Toronto have taken to social media to warn others. The CBC's Greg Ross reports.
So you steal money is what you do.
This video was posted to TikTok by Saja Kilani. She says the person in that car tried to steal her banking information.
The first red flag was that he asked for my cards.
Kilani says she was walking home after grocery shopping when she was stopped by a teenage boy.
This young man, I think he was around 15, 16 years old, he stops me and he says, hey, I just got this taxi. He doesn't take cash, he only takes card.
She says the boy told her that the cab fare was under $10 and that he would pay her the cash if she used her debit card to pay the taxi driver.
My first thought is he's young, I have a young brother, and if someone is in a desperate situation, I would want someone to help me in that situation.
Kilani agreed to help out. She says the taxi driver took her card and swiped it in his machine. She then typed in her PIN number. When the driver handed back the card to her, she realized it actually wasn't hers. It had a different name on it.
I opened the door, I leaned in, I didn't get into the car, but I leaned in and I said, you have my card, you put it in between your legs, I see it.
She says the driver did eventually hand the real card back to her. She says she still canceled it to ensure the scammers didn't get her money. Megan Honorato wasn't so lucky when the same thing happened to her back in the spring.
I didn't realize that there was anything wrong, and then later on that evening I was doing some online banking and noticed 3 separate transactions in my account that were not made by me.
Honorato says the purchases totaled about $1,400, which was eventually refunded by her bank. Both of these women posted their stories to social media, and in both cases, dozens of people responded, claiming that they were also victims of the same kind of scam.
They'll try to hit your limit as soon as they can, and they'll make purchases at various locations, and they will continue to use it until there's nothing left in the account.
Police say that you should never make payments for somebody that you don't know. And they say if you're going to use a debit or credit card to pay for a taxi, make sure it's a reputable company and that the driver has his identification on full display. Police also say you should always inspect your card when it's returned to you to make sure that it's yours. Greg Ross, CBC News, Toronto.
it can be a struggle to pick the perfect holiday card for loved ones. So when one woman in the Toronto area found there were no Diwali greeting cards that she could buy for her relatives, she decided to change that.
Started off as a family project. The kids got involved. Everyone was home for those 2 years, so it was really for our family. We couldn't find any Diwali card on the market, which was very surprising for us. I remember just saying to my husband, like, I can't believe this. There's so many South Asian people and there's nothing. And that's where the idea kind of came that, okay, if there's Christmas cards everywhere, then maybe we should have Diwali cards. We started designing and creating, and then about 6 months later, we had started Mubarak cards. Feathers is a very South Asian type of design. Even our birthday cards, you'll see paisleys at the back. The response, when we started, the response is what blew me away. On Instagram, most small businesses have followings of about 1,000 people. We grew to 10,000 very quickly. So this is our romantic collection. Kuch Kuch Hota is a very famous movie. So when I see you, Kuch Kuch Hota, it means when I see you, I feel right. I feel something. John is basically a loving word to my life. It's one that has been like a huge success. So we started making Diwali gift packages. People are loving having everything put together for them and ready to go. What's really special about our South Asian culture is we actually do have a title for everything. Your mom's younger sister, your mom's older sister, your dad's younger brother is different from your dad's older brother. To actually be able to give someone a card that has the name that you call them was, I think, the most special thing that people really grabbed onto.
Time for a look at the long-range weather. I know it's only Tuesday, but we get to look ahead to the weekend already right now. Yeah. You mentioned that rain, drizzle, and fog are happening this week, but what about as we get into later in the week?
Well, Thursday doesn't look great either, but hope comes on Friday and Saturday.
Excellent.
Yeah, finally, it lines up right. Mix of sun and cloud for the weekend. So let's take a look ahead right now to what we should see Wednesday evening. So we still see a whole bunch of showers sticking around in Labrador West and a bit of a mix for northern Labrador there Wednesday evening. But as we push through into Thursday, we see more precipitation just push right through Labrador and right through the island down here as well. So taking a look at how things are going to be for us on Thursday, it looks like we will either have showers, a chance of showers, or rain on Thursday for most parts of the island. Temperatures not looking too bad, 15 in St. John's and Marystown, 16 in Togander, 14, 15 as we go a little further west to the island's west coast. Still quite warm, where it's normally about 10, 11 degrees this time of year, so still above seasonal temperatures for us here. And warm into Labrador as well, 14 in Happy Valley Goose Bay with some showers in Cartwright at 13 degrees. We'll have a bit of a mix there in Nain and some showers there in Labrador West as well. Some rain for you in 9 degrees. Then on into Thursday and the overnight, pushing through to Friday, we see a lot of that precipitation move offshore, but a little bit more, a chance of showers coming in behind it. We do have a mix of sun and cloud, though, for many parts of the province. It should be an overcast day in St. John's, and we'll have a few more clouds down in Marystown and 15 on Friday. But as we head into Central, 14, we see some more sunshine there. Some showers, parts of the south coast, but 12 degrees in Port aux Basques, 13 in Corner Brook, and in St. Anthony, dropping off a little bit as we get into Labrador. We will have some showers into Nain, but some sun and cloud, mainly sunny for Happy Valley Goose Bay into the Straits, and a few more clouds in Cartwright. And again, some more showers in Labrador City, Wabush area. You're not having much luck, are you? Lots of rain in your forecast. Taking a look now at our 5-day forecast, our longer term forecast for the East Coast. We see Wednesday, tomorrow, not bad, 15 degrees right until Saturday, so temps in the mid-teens. Chance of showers on Thursday, overcast day on Friday, mix of sun and cloud come Saturday and Sunday. Lines up nice and well. Into central Newfoundland now. We've got some showers, mix of sun and cloud possible though tomorrow at 17 degrees. Possibly some flurries on Thursday, and then dry for the rest of your week. Heading on into Sunday, temperatures between 12 and 14 degrees for western Newfoundland. Looking overall like a great week with some showers on Thursday. On into eastern Labrador, similar situation for you. Nice week, showers on Thursday. When it comes to western Labrador, it doesn't look so great. And I am sorry to say you've got lots of precipitation there in your future, some showers, and Wednesday and Thursday, possibly a snow rain mix there, a 40% chance of it on Friday and Saturday. But on Sunday, some reprieve. There we go. We've got our weather photo. Gorgeous. And yeah, isn't it nice perspective there? Some fall colors. Yeah. This was taken in Corner Brook.
Wow. I wonder, is Ronnie standing in the water to take that picture, I guess?
Looks like it.
Yeah, very nice.
Very nice.
As we finish up tonight, just a note, tomorrow should be interesting. We'll learn more about the province's financial situation. The fall fiscal update will be delivered at 11 o'clock tomorrow morning, so should be interesting to see where things stand, especially with the high oil prices over the past while. So tune in tomorrow and we'll have lots of coverage of that. Thanks for joining us.
Good night.